Welcome to Forfellinus, belysning.
You are not broken.
You are out of balance.
And there is a path home.
This is Forfellinus belysning,
From the Alaska ulfhednar.
ancestral morning light for those
who have been through hell
and are still standing.
This nonprofit has a sliding scale guidance
At alaskaulfhednar.org/guidance.
Forfellinus belysning
Begins now.
Every day, someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiance, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great grandmother, elder disappears, shattering a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them.
God Morgan, happy Mani's Day to you. I hope the weekend has been amazing. I hope you've had all the energy brought back into you, brought that focus back. Today I want to talk about the frost wolf and how maintaining that energy, that heat within us as we go forward and we face the onslaught of new and changing influential energies in our world every day. Before we get underway, as always, I want to say thank you so much. A huge tack to all of you who have liked, followed, and subscribed us on any of the channels, whether it be live radio, whether it be video, whether it be any of the channels, the podcasts, wherever you join us. Thank you so much. I also want to give a huge shout out to my friends and family at New Reality TV. NewRealityTV.com is a streaming channel dedicated to a plethora of spiritual perspectives that offer us a different way to look at our spiritual journey. Remember, each of us is unique, just as unique as us as individuals. So be sure to check out NewRealityTV.com. There you can find all of these spiritual perspectives that maybe will resonate with you and help you along your spiritual path. So, this morning, as I promised, we're talking about the frost wolf, and I want to bring up three big points. I made some notes here, so bear with me. And the first one we need to understand is keeping the heat before any big tasks. Checked for our overexposure. Our overexposure includes too many outputs. Actually, too many inputs, sorry. Too many inputs into our world, whether we're taking, a criticism, whether we're taking constructional, whether we're taking emotional backlash, regardless what input we're taking. Sometimes we need to slow ourselves down. We need to just pull back on the reins a little bit and decide how we're going to proceed forward. Now, the next note that I say here is plug any leak. Now, you remember, we do want to make sure that we're not over promising ourselves, right? We don't want to try to commit to too many things. I'm not saying don't be an overachiever. We all want to be productive and getting after these things. But that's not the mission, right? We don't want to overcommit. We have to remember that there is a kind of this sweet spot where we can deliver on what we're promising, right? We can make that happen. And not to overreach. Now, this is, again, going with the overpromising. We're overpromising, or we're telling others of our delivery. Overreaching is we're trying to take on too much. We're reaching out and pulling back these things that many times it may come across in our voice as if, I need to do this myself, even though I'm overtaxed. I'm overwhelmed as it is, but because I don't trust, because I can't let go, because of all these different reasons, I'm going to pull this additional task back in so that I'm sure it gets done the way I want it done. A couple of things there, but we'll come back. Plugging one leak, and I use this very frequently throughout my day, is that I take 3 quiet, steady breaths. And I know that may sound trivial, and it may sound like, what's that do? It does. It helps me to focus. It brings my focus back from the scattering of all the influences that are affecting my life. We can't make influences go away. They're going to be there. Whether they're influential from TV and social media and all the like, or whether it's influences from our partners, from our friends, from other people, whether it's intentional or not, whether it's regardless where it fits on the emotional scale, regardless where it fits on the energy type scale. All of these things are all ways that things are calling us off our path. There are some of these things that we should respond to, some gifts that may occur, some new thing brought into our lives, which is very advantageous for us. These things will come into our lives. There are also things that are very disadvantageous, right? So they're going to take us away from what we're trying to do. So we have to be kind of discerning. We have to think about each process, each influence as it arrives in our mind. So these 3 breaths will help us. They'll help us kind of focus down to a finite point. Then we're going to, much in the case of the wolves, we are going to choose our track. Now, wolves are famous for this, but they're intentional about it. There's no, they don't play eeny, meeny, miny, mo. That's not how it rolls here. Every path, every use of energy for the wolf in the wild is intentional. It's made, that decision is made based on many factors that the wolf has in its mind and that it focuses on. And it's clearing its objectives based on its knowledge of the terrain, of the things going on, right? So it knows what it needs. So choose the track. And that's one of the exercises I use is to write one sentence. Maybe do it on your phone, maybe do it on a piece of scrap paper, whatever it is, and decide what today's objectives is. What's today's hunt? Find a kind word. Actively seek. Remember, we've said before, and we'll say again, I'm sure, what we actively seek, we will find. So if we're not actively seeking joy, we're kind of the opposite, right? So much like our our cognitive mind, or our consciousness rather, our consciousness is held forward. I like to think of our consciousness as being on springs. Okay? And when we're conscious, when we're awake, when we're doing stuff, when we're, operating in the physical realm, we physically pull our consciousness forward so that our sensory inputs feeding into our brain and into our mind, and we're able to focus and process the world around us. So we're pushing all that into our consciousness. But then, as we drift off to sleep at night, or we take a break during the day where we just kind of let our brain, we let those springs relax. And when it relaxes, it's pulling that consciousness back to the spiritual realm, back to our spiritual self. Remember, the three brains. We have the spiritual brain in the back, we have memories in the middle, and we have our physical or our sensory mind up front. And when our consciousness, when we're awake and alert, our consciousness is pulled forward and it's in contact with our memories and in our cognitive or our sensory mind, right? And then we drift off to sleep, and the consciousness kind of slides back to where now it's in contact with the spiritual mind or the spiritual self and the memories. So we're processing overnight. We're communicating with ancestors, we're communicating with the gods, we're communicating with other spirits because the spiritual self is constantly connected to the spiritual realm. It never lets go. So as we slide back, we're now connection. Now, ultimately, one day far in the future, for all of us, our consciousness, the springs will be let go. And the consciousness will slide back and now depart the physical form. Just right out the back, right? Okay? And so this process is part of our living. It's part of how we are, right? So it's a very important part that we recognize that we're kind of in charge of pulling our consciousness forward and then letting our consciousness slide back. One of the things that people always come to me and they say, oh, you're a shaman, so you understand about altered states of consciousness. I do. And what I understand is that altered states of consciousness is not what people think it is. People think that altered state of consciousness is this some trance and thing, where it can be, but it can also be a daydream in the middle of the day. It can also be sleeping. It can also be a multitude of shifts of our consciousness throughout our day, varying in degrees of being forward in our spiritual or our physical linear self and really dependent on our sensory input. We can also slide back just a little bit and have memories and be able to recall some of these memories, some of these things that may or may not be as prominent. We can slide all the way back to where we're communicating with the spiritual realm and the ancestors and the spirits are speaking to us, and we're in conversation there. And there's varying degrees of all of that. All right, so think of your consciousness as kind of this rail system on the top of the brain that's kind of driven by these springs. So when we're cognizant, when we're awake, when we're focused, we're conscious, this consciousness is pulled forward. And then, but it's on springs. So as we relax and we let go of that consciousness, it kind of returns to our spiritual self. All right. So think of it like that. It's kind of a visual as to how our consciousness works. Now, all along that rail system is altered state of consciousness. You could say, quite honestly and quite accurately, that when we're awake and alert and checking things out and processing sensory input, that's an altered state of consciousness. It's altered from being our spiritual self, it's altered from being purely in memories. So everything is kind of an altered state of consciousness. Now, are trances the same thing as being awake? Yeah, some could say that because in our physical reality, when we're awake and alert and conscious, we're focused on sensory input. When we're in a trance, our consciousness has slid back, and now we're doing the same thing to the spiritual realm and not to the physical realm. It's the same thing. All right, getting a little off track. So, whatever the track that you've decided today, again, you're deciding it's an active thing. You're actively engaged. Okay, so you're actively seeking joy. You're actively seeking to complete one thing. All right. Then we're going to guard the den, and that's the last piece here. In guarding the den, we're setting boundaries, right? We're making sure that we're upholding our boundaries. Remember, you're in charge of your brain. You get to decide how you feel, when you feel it, what you think, all of that. You get to decide. You get to decide because you're deciding on which influences to allow in and not. You're deciding to interconnect within the mind different intellect pieces, right? We could become specialists in automotive. We could become specialists with wheels and tires and not understand a darn thing about the rest of the car. Or we could become fairly good at the tires. We'll keep tires on there anyway and keep them inflated and the whole 9 yards. But now we're also going to have a general knowledge of the rest of the car. Okay, so we're expanding that, and that's up to us, right? Our intellect and the matrix that's created, right, within the mind that we call wisdom is purely up to us. We're the interrelations expert here. We're saying, wow, that thing I learned over here, that piece of intellect that I got, this tower here, that's actually connected to this one over here. And, and those two are actually connected to this third one over here. So we're building the matrix called wisdom. Now, wisdom also, for those of you who have been following the show, wisdom also doubles up in that when it begins to attempt to help us by using some, we'll call it form of premonition, this thing is called imagination. And imagination is simply a future-looking wisdom. So we're using all the intellect pieces that are interconnected now, creating this thing called wisdom. That wisdom is then formed into and kind of move forward into this thing called imagination, which is then fed into our interpreter. So as we take the physical reality that we're witnessing or that we're hearing, we're going to convert that physical reality out here to in there, right? And when we do that, we're simply recreating this in electronic format, in electro format, that's now going to be transmitted across nerves into the brain. Okay, this is a real thing. When we're converting that, we get this energy of imagination. Now, imagination is designed for it does have a value in that what imagination does is it can focus our experience. So instead of seeing the whole tree line, now we see just a shadow outline of a bear in the tree line. This automatically brings up this fight or flight thing, right? Well, that's driven by imagination feeding into our sensory input before it goes into the mood ring. Now, our mood ring, depending on what kind of mood we're in, when we see that, dictates kind of how things are going to be processed all the way through the thought process. Now, for those of you who haven't followed along or haven't heard this kind of visualization of how we think, check out my book. My book, ebook, is for sale on Kobo. You can find it there. You can find the links on my website, author.akoutlaw.com. But it's a book, and it's called Rewriting Your Emotional Recipes. Now, this book, $16.99, low cost. It's an ebook, so you can read it anywhere. Read it on your phone, read it on your iPad. It talks about these processes all the way through, from out here to in there, all the way through our heart and mind into this gorgeous thing called memories. So check out the book, and it'll step you through the process. Now, I can tell you, because I'm in a pretty good place with it, we do have a book series coming up. Getting ready to publish that. We'll start seeing books appear probably here in the next week, 2 weeks, and there'll be ebooks as well, and they'll be available through Kobo as well. And these books will kind of identify unique situations, anxiety, being overwhelmed, those types of things, and give you not only information based on this visualization that the gods have given me, called rewriting your emotional recipes, but it'll kind of drill it down to a specific case. And there will be 12 of them. They'll be, like I said, I think the first one, which is Standing in the Storm, talks about being overwhelmed, and that book should be released here in the next week or two. And then there'll be books released kind of in a sequence, in fairly quick succession, for a total of 12. And so do check them out. They're the Gift of the Norn Sisters, or the Gift of the Norn series. And again, that book series will be available on Kobo for you to download on your phone or your iPad, and you can take a listen. They're pretty inexpensive. I think they're like $9.99 each. So check it out. If you find a book that's kind of focused on something that you're struggling with, by all means, purchase and download that bad boy. Read it. Half of it is a workbook that you can kind of work through your own stuff in your own time. So it's no pressure, no time, no test at the end, none of that stuff. So check them out. Again, $9.99, and they'll be available through Kobo. So do check out my website, and it'll tell you all about them. All right. Before I go to break, just make sure that we're keeping the rhythm, the sowing, tending, resting, making sure we're keeping that theory or that practice up to speed. All right, what's in today's rune? Speaking of wisdom for my friends, wisdom for all of us for today, that we may know a way forward. And today's rune, Hagalas. Hagalas, of course, in the family of Hago. Hago, of course, being one of the sagas of the Norse. Hagalas is the rune of inner harmony, completion, corrections, controlled crisis, changes for the long-term good, change according to ideals. So it's talking about today processing our world, our reality in a different way, a little bit more advantageous for us. Remembering now that we are in control. We're not at the whims of the Norn sisters, right? We're we don't have to subscribe to what the Greeks would have called the fates. We can plot our own destiny, and we can be our own master of the ship. All right. So don't let people and influences change who you really want to be. All right. You get to be in charge. You're the boss. So you get to make that decision. All right. Let's take a real quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how to put this on the road. We'll be right back.
Then Shared turns myth, memory, and modern minds into bold prints that change a room. See today's feature pieces and more with a link in the description.
It's happening.
It's in the air. The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me. It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
NewRealityTV.com.
Alight the morning fire. Blackout coffee, roast bold. Clean flavor for long days and late edits. Grab your bag. Use the link in the descriptions below.
These words are stirring something heavy in you. You don't have to carry it alone. Sliding scale spiritual guidance with sessions outside normal business hours is available through the Alaska ulfhednar. Visit akulfhednar.org/guidance to book a free discovery session.
And be sure to check out our book, Rewriting Your Emotional Recipes, available through our website for purchase and download, author.akoutlaw.com. All right, welcome back, and thank you for taking that quick break with us. As always, I want to say thank you again so much to Mountain Rose Herbs is today's sponsor. So I appreciate Mountain Rose Herbs. Wonderful products, and you won't be disappointed. Check out them and all of our other affiliates at akumedia.akoutlaw.com/sponsors. There you can see them all just in time for the holidays. You can get what you need to provide that gift for that friend that you can never find something for. Lots of places on our affiliates that you can find that gift. Trust me. All right. So today we're talking about the frost wolf, and we're talking about maintaining our heat. We're talking about maintaining who we are, our independence, our mentality. And so what I want you to do today is today's exercise as we practice Mani's Day. We thank Mani for his gifts. I want us to start thinking of why do I feel this way? Why am I reacting this way? Whether it be that I'm not reacting or I am reacting. Why am I getting an emotional change based on some influence that's hitting me today? What does that look like? And so I just want us to start being cognizant of those energies that are coming into our lives. I'm not saying change them. I'm not saying discard them. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying, or I am saying something, I'm just simply saying, let's look at them. Let's question them. Why? Why is this affecting me in such a way? We may not find answers, but as we begin to question the influences, question these physical changes that these influential energies are requesting of us, as we're beginning to isolate and identify those, we're going to start paying more attention to them. Now remember, when we're paying attention to something, concentrating on something, focusing on something, what are we going to do? We're going to send it energy, right? We're sending energy to it so we can begin the process process of identifying these, isolating them, and then deciding on what's going to drive our ship, whether it be us or these influential energies. It's completely up to us individually for every event. But remember, no one can make you feel anything. No one can make you think anything. That's on you. We get to make that decision. You know, if grief, as an example, while yes, there are certain events, certain experiences that we may have that may incite this feeling of grief and loss, we get to decide when there's a value and when there's no longer a value. How long do we carry grief? How long does it provide value? That's on each of us. We get to make that decision. Okay? So I want you to just think about that today as we celebrate Money's Day and we start a new work week. For those of you who have enjoyed a wonderful weekend, I appreciate you being here with me this morning, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, where we'll embrace the courage of Tyr and his value to our understanding of ourselves and certainly of the world around us. So until tomorrow, my friends, love and light, love each other, but most importantly, love yourself. You are a very valuable piece of this reality.
Fulfilling us. Una. Hjälp oss med. Magnify. Tu för og. Kaliot.
If what we've touched today hits something raw for you, you don't have to carry it alone. We offer a sliding scale spiritual guidance with sessions outside normal business hours. Visit akulfhednar.org/guidance to book a free discovery session.